these people are competitors.
Yeah.
They want to win. Billy Donovan wants to win. And you give it your all and see where the chips fall. What they did in Philly and these other teams at Washington and stuff, not a big fan. I am not a fan because if you don't get Cooper Flag, what do you have to show for it? And the odds are for any of the teams, you're not going to get him. And look at last year. We were 10th and won the lottery. That kind of stuff happens. That's why they call it a lottery. So, this planned losing to try to protect a pick or get in the top 3 or 4 and, roll the dice, God bless you. I hope it works for you.
He is the TV voice of the Atlanta Hawks. We have the pleasure in welcoming back Bob Rathbun onto Hoopsology. Welcome back.
Justin, how are you, sir?
Doing really well. How are you?
Very good. Excited to get these playoffs going.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. Really appreciate it. Let's kind of jump into it with the Hawks. They finished 8th in the Eastern Conference. As the recorder of this podcast, they have a matchup with the Orlando Magic in the play-in tournament. What's kind of your thoughts before we jump into the specific matchup with the Magic? Just the overall season for the Hawks. Kind of what's been your feeling and temperature of how this season has go? Did they meet your expectations, exceed them, kind of went below them? Kind of what do you gauge this season?
Yeah, I would say the Hawks overachieved, actually. When you take away Jalen Johnson, who was on his way to being an all-star, 20 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists out of your lineup, and then various and sundry other injuries, 2 major trades at the deadline, and this team still recovered to beat the Vegas odds that were projected at the beginning of the season. To win 40 games with this group starting a G Leaguer at the 4, it's crazy. I mean, we went without a backup point guard for 4 months. It's been unreal, and I think it really does show the development of the players. Number one, the coaching staff, which I think is just an all-star coaching staff, and roll it all into a pretty good ending to the season, winning 3 out of 4 and kind of shaking off the doldrums at the end. I thought they overachieved.
And what do you account for their resiliency? Just kind of going through those hurdles. Was that leadership on the court or coaching? What do you think?
Yeah, it starts with the staff, I think. They just Quinn's a genius offensively, as I think anybody who followed his Utah days will know. And through thick and thin, this team averaged 120 points a game, which is pretty incredible when you look at the personnel. I mean, we're playing 10 guys. Basically, 2 of them are in a G League, Don Barlow and Mo Gay. We start a rookie at the 3 in Risacher. We don't really have a backup center. 3 of our bigs are hurt. Capella and Larry Nance have been hurt. This team is just about as bagged up as you can get. So I think the infusion of what the coaching staff has preached, the spacing, the way that they want to play, sort of is universal, and they've been able to plug guys in and get results. So I credit, of course, the guys for doing the hard work, but I think the coaching staff should be applauded for the positive mindset that they've permeate this team with.
And you mentioned Zaccharie Risacher. What do you think of his rookie year? You mentioned all the injuries. Did that play a factor in his development? He averaged about 12 points a game. What do you think of his rookie year?
I think he should be the rookie of the year. I don't think it's even close, mainly because he came off the bench the first 2 games, and then he started every one since, playing minutes, rather substantial minutes, for a team in playoff contention. I think that really says something. He's gotten better day by day, week by week, month by month. His statistics certainly bear that out. He's the only rookie to have 4 30-point games. You can go the laundry list of all of his accomplishments, but he's a wonderful kid. He's a hard worker. He never met a stranger. All this, still learning English along the way. He's been great. The guys love him. I mean, absolutely love him. He's so sweet and innocent. He just turned 20. Um, and he's very talented. I cannot wait to see his development over the summer and then what he comes back to us in the fall, because he's really going to be special. I think he's going to be better than a lot of people said last summer. They're going to eat their words, I believe. This kid's special, and he's still growing.
Can you explain how hard it is for him specifically compared to other rookies? They play for an American college or kind of acclimated to kind of how the American system works from high school to college to the pros. But he's, jumping into a totally different form of basketball compared to what he's used to. So kind of what was that first year like in your opinion? That's him acclimating to just America and just the crazy schedule of the NBA and just a totally different culture.
Sure.
Like, can you mention any anecdotes of what that was like for him?
Yeah. I would say, Justin, he was unfazed by it all. Kids that don't grow up in this country, or really North America, um, they have a completely different perspective because of the way that they're trained. Um, he turned pro when he was 15. He's playing in Euro Cup games at 18. Nobody made the jump in Europe like this kid did from age 17 to age 18, and then, of course, get drafted at 19. No one 2 years ago saw this kid being the number one pick of anything. And that just shows you the dedication to the craft. He's got a lot of experience under his belt. So when he got over here, it was business as usual. He knew how to work as a pro and what a long schedule could be like. We went to Toronto, I think, for the first time. And I asked him, how many different countries have you played a basketball game in? And he thought for a moment, and he said, 12 at age 19.
Wow.
And I said, Zaccharie, I hadn't been to 12 different counties in North Carolina when I was 12 years old. And it just shows you the worldliness of this kid. And I'll tell you something that a lot of people did not notice about him. He put on 10 pounds of muscle during the season. Now think about that. Most guys lose weight as the season goes on because of the stress. He gained 10 because of his dedication in the weight room. He's the first guy to get to practice. Our assistant coach, Ryan Schmidt, who coached our G League team last year and was under Quinn this year, it's sort of his personal development coach. He's done a marvelous job with him. He's the first one in the gym every morning. He doesn't miss a day. He doesn't miss a game. He just goes and plays. And he hasn't really developed his body yet. I mean, his shoulders are still kind of rounded. He hadn't filled out all the way yet. He's still going to add 15, 20 pounds to that frame. I think he's got a chance to really be special. I do. And that's not the home team take. I think this kid's really got it. I've been pleasantly surprised, mainly because of his work ethic, I think, overall.
So with the Hawks going to the playoffs, and this is his rookie year, how much do you think that will play into his development?
Oh, everything.
Yeah.
Every arena he goes to, every new opponent that he has to prepare for and play against, and all of these things add up over the course of 82 games, and then you get into the pressure cooker of the playoffs. You'll see a completely different NBA in the playoffs if we can make it. We know if we get in, we're going to play Boston or Cleveland, and it couldn't be better for him to experience that at such a young age, to see exactly what it takes to be a top flight team. Those are the two of the best teams in the NBA that he'll face right away. But if he's the same the first preseason game as he was yesterday in game 82. It's unbelievable how unflappable he is. And that's just his personality. He was the first guy in the gym this morning to practice. He's shooting late before the team left to go to Orlando. So, he doesn't change.
So how do you think the Hawks match up with the Orlando Magic in the playoff tournament?
Well, if we had Jalen and Clint and Nance, I would feel a lot better about our chances. We just don't have the size right now, as banged up as we are. Mogay's, as thin as a pencil, has no girth. They move him around. Everybody else is sort of undersized, including Onyeka, who I think has had a marvelous year and a great second half, and he's been terrific since he became a starter. But, it's tough for him. 6'8"ish, and kind of gets moved around a little bit. The physical challenge for us is going to be great. Plus the fact they're playing at home, plus the fact that they love to play bully ball. I mean, this is their identity, to hitch in the mouth first and hitch in the mouth second. And we haven't responded well to that, to be very honest with you. We've got to turn that around tomorrow night, Tuesday night, as we record this on Monday, to have a chance down there. We're only 5.5-point underdogs. I think there's some tricks up Quinn's sleeve offensively, but I think the big thing is we got to get stops. If we can get stops, then we can beat them down the floor. You don't have to worry about all that physicality. So if we're good at the defensive end, that'll give us a chance. And then, we got to hope for a great shooting night, particularly the bench guys like Levert and Niang, people like that, to come through and take some of the heat off the less experienced guys in a playoff game.
So if they make it past the Magic, in terms of kind of your expectations in a deep playoff run, is that feasible for the Hawks, or do you think kind of if they win this game, it's kind of more for experience, or do you think they have a chance to make some noise depending on if they can pull off the upset?
Oh, it would be if we win this game in Orlando and play Boston, and if we made it a series, it would be an upset of biblical proportions. You're talking about a Boston team that's probably the favorite to repeat as champions, and they have to go up there and play those first two games. But, we're 2-0 in Boston this year. Again, I would like to go up there with a full roster. If we could somehow magically heal Jalen, he were available, and bring Clint back and Nance back, and have the guys that we thought we were going to have all season, I'll take my chances with Quinn coaching against anybody. But without them, it's going to be extremely difficult. But to your point, and I think it's a great one, it would be a tremendous developmental piece, because it's not just Zach. It's Plowden. It's all the young guys on this team to get a shot at it. And, for guys like Niang, a chance to go home, Terrence Mann, that would mean so much for them. They'll be jacked up beyond belief. So, you get out there and play. It's professional basketball. It's not, it's not Towson State against, Michigan. It's professional basketball, and anybody can win any game at any time.
I want to talk about Trae Young and his time in Atlanta. What do you think in terms of what he meant to means to the city, and kind of the fans' relationship with him as kind of being the cornerstone of the franchise as of late?
Yeah, this is year 7. He did something this year, Justin, that had not been done by a Hawk in history, the franchise, back to the 40s, and that is to lead the entire league in assists per game. Now, he's been the highest assist man 3 times, including this year, but never has he been the best in terms of per game average, which is what the Triple Crown is all about, in points and rebounds and assists. So for him to do it at his size, which is, barely over 6 feet, 180 pounds, in Atlanta Giants, is pretty remarkable. I have always maintained that his passing is what makes him special, not his scoring, not the fact that he can hit 30-footers. That's not him. He does that a lot of times. It's a look that he gets, and he can make it, but he also does it to change the defense to make it a little bit easier for his teammates, to create different driving lanes and create a little more space on the court. But he's really remarkable offensively. And, you're coming in 12 assists a game. There aren't too many of those guys around. And for him to do it has been pretty special to watch this season.
Do you think the fans take him for granted, or do they have kind of like expectations for him to kind of lead the franchise to kind of greater heights?
No, we haven't had the big sustained success. We had the big upset of the Knicks in the playoffs. went to the Eastern Conference Finals. But, we did things in that COVID year that, probably never be done again. I mean, we won 3 road games in Philadelphia, which that's impossible. Giannis gets hurt when we played the Bucks. He goes down in game 1. And if Trey doesn't hurt his foot stepping on Sean Wright, we might have gone to the NBA Finals. But we haven't been able to sustain it. This is the 4th straight year we've been in the play-in. And although we're 3-1, this is a hard way to go. I do believe, that said, healthy, we would have been a top 6 team. I don't know which one we would have knocked out, but we would have been a top 16. But we weren't, so we got to do it the hard way. And to your question with Trae Young, I think if they just had a little more sustained success, like if you could have gone from playoffs to second round to Eastern Conference Finals in some sort of progression rather than go 0 to 60, I think the perception of Trey would be a lot different.
So with this team in the offseason in the future, do you think this is a core nucleus that could really advance through the East, or do you think some major changes need to happen in order for the Hawks to kind of take that next?
No, these guys are very young. As I mentioned, Risacher just turned 20. Jalen's 23. Trey's 26. He's just entering his prime. And then the guy that we haven't yet talked about just turned 22, and that's Dyson Daniels, who has been an absolute gift from God, the way that he has played. He's remarkable, the way he has turned his career around, not just with the defense, which is going to get him high acclaim, but he's become a dynamite offensive player. I mean, he's well in double-figure scoring, can get into the paint. He's really become a much better three-point shooter than they ever saw in New Orleans. So, he's 22. We're going to have 2 first-round picks and a chance to, get another young star. So I think the future is very, very bright for this team. The young core is really young, and they're really good. And so I think the Hawks will be heard from for a long time.
I want to get your opinions on the rest of the NBA. Let's start with the Eastern Conference. Did they meet your expectations in terms of how it unfolded? Cleveland with a huge run, Boston still relevant. You still have kind of your mainstay teams there. The Detroit Pistons, a huge bounce back year for them. What are your opinions of the rest of the East?
Yeah, I still think Boston's the team to beat, even though Cleveland had the better record. I think it's the old saw, they got to go out there and prove it, right? But I do think Cleveland's very good. Boston, we know what they can do. I still think the Celtics are a little bit of a one-trick pony. I do. I'm sorry that upset Celtic fans, but you take 53s a night, 63s a night. If they're not going, and you get a team that knows how to defend them, like Indiana does, and some of these other teams, it might be a little more difficult than they think. I've not sold on their bench, never have been. Total bench, not individual guys per se. Pritchard obviously could be 6th man of the year. But the total bench, I think it's a little shaky. But they've got so much firepower in their top 6 with Porzingis that if healthy, they can just run roughshod over anybody. And I think that's why the odds-on favorite. Detroit's a great story. I think the first-round matchup with the Knicks could be just a bare-knuckles brawl by the time they get to Game 7. And I think Milwaukee, Indiana's going to be interesting. Indiana knocked them out last year. I think they don't like each other, which always makes for great basketball theater. I wish we had more of that. Yeah. So I think that's an even series. We'll see if Lillard can make it back. I doubt it, but if Dame is anywhere close to returning and can play, that might tip the balance a little bit in Milwaukee's favor. Giannis is hard to guard. But Indiana, they can impose their will too, with the way they push the basketball. So I love it. I think they're great matchups. Chicago's coming on. People have really not paid much attention to the Bulls. They trade Zach LaVine, and you think the season's over. And all of a sudden, they just say, screw it. We're going to go win games. And Kobe White's become an unbelievable star. So I'm excited. I can't wait to see how this plays out.
No, agreed. Count me as one of those people that counted out Chicago. I'm a huge Bulls fan, but I was one of those people that this has
Yeah.
Chicago.
Yeah, and I
Uh,
think kudos to them.
yeah,
This is people just don't get it. These people are competitors.
yeah.
They want to win. Billy Donovan wants to win, and you give it your all and see where the chips fall. What they did in Philly and these other teams at Washington and stuff. Not a big fan. I am not a fan because if you don't get Cooper Flag, what do you have to show for it? And the odds are for any of the teams, you're not going to get him. And look at last year. We were 10th and won the lottery. That kind of stuff happens. That's why they call it a lottery. So, this planned losing to try to protect a pick or get in the top 3 or 4 and, roll the dice, God bless you. I hope it works for you.
Do you think that harms the league? Do you think that needs to be changed?
Oh, I think it's
in terms
awful.
of-
I think it's awful for our fans. I think it's awful for our TV partners. I think it's awful for the players that are forced to go through it. It's their careers. They only get one shot at this. The only people that survive it are the GMs. The coaches get fired because they can't win enough. No, I think it's horrible. We are such, and I hate to say this because I love this league with all my heart, but we're such an integrity-less operation. This has been going on for 50 years. The frozen envelope, all these conspiracy theories. It is hung over this league like a albatross. And I'm not entirely sure how to fix it. The one thing I would do, I would end protections on first-round picks. If you trade a first-round pick, you trade a first-round pick, and you don't get it back. That's it. None of this, protected top 10, protected top. Screw it. No protections on first-round picks. That's the first thing I would do. And I would go the radical route. If you want to have a draft lottery, then put everybody in it. 30 ping pong balls, and you pull them out one at a time. And if the Celtics draw number 1, too bad. You guys have really forced us to do this. And if Boston picks first and Golden State picks second and Oklahoma City picks third, then that's just the way it goes.
Yeah.
I'll get off my soapbox now.
No, I agree. I think you're right. I think the play-in tournament has helped that a little bit more competitiveness.
But has it? You've got 10 teams that aren't in the play-in.
Good point.
And they're tanking as badly as anybody has. And next year, potentially, could be worse because the college scouts are saying that next year's draft is better than this year's draft. So it's like, how is this going to end? I do think the league, and I think they will, to protect the integrity as best they can, they're going to do something this summer. I really believe that thing.
Do you think
this can't go on? This cannot continue.
I'm curious. You call all these games. What do you think of just the quality of play this season? Because my co-host says it's been the best he's seen in a long time. He is pretty optimistic. What about yourself? Do you think the quality was pretty decent, or do you think because of this tanking it caused a huge harm to the season?
I think now there's a distinction. The way they play the games and the effort that they give is different than tanking.
Sure.
The guys it's the guys they put out there. That is the question. Are guys that could help you win not playing, and you say they're hurt or, rest or load management or whatever, not giving you the benefit of having the better players. That's a different issue. But the guys that do go on the court, no, I think the competition is great. I mean, you look at yesterday, that Clipper Golden State game is as good an end of the regular season as you could have. And we would have had more games like that had the East, been up for grabs on Sunday like the West. So, no, I think the competition is fine. I think it's keen. I think it's good. The Knicks give you effort every night. The Pistons give it to you every night. Celtics certainly do. You go right on down the line. I don't have any qualms with that. The qualms I have are with teams that are intentionally trying not to win, not to put their best foot forward. That's what I have an issue with. Just to, maybe get Cooper Flag. I just don't understand that thinking. I think this is professional basketball. We have an obligation to our cities, to our fans, to our TV partners, to our sponsors, to put the best team on the floor we possibly can and win every game we possibly can. I think that is what we should be all about. I do. And nothing that anybody from these other teams could say would change my mind. I just, because I've been through it. We've done it here. Hated every second of it because of what it does. And there's no guarantee you're ever going to come out of it.
Yeah.
Just isn't. Sacramento Kings.
Yeah.
How many lottery picks have they had?
Yeah.
There's just no guarantee you're going to come out of this anytime. If you could say, okay, to your fans and your stakeholders, say 2 years max, we'll have what we want, and then we're ready to roll. We'll add the free agents and make the trades, but stick with us for 2 years. Everybody would sign up for that. But the reason they don't say it is because you can't guarantee it. You have no idea when you're going to come out of this.
No, totally agree. Last question for you. I want to get your opinion on this. It shocked me living in Denver. A similar situation happened in Memphis. Just two high-profile coaches being fired, but yet both these teams, in the top 5 of the playoff seeding. What do you make of that? Warranted, not warranted, shocking to you? It was a shock to me living in Denver, the Denver Nuggets track record. I'm just curious what your opinion of that is, and do you think that harms the league overall with this week?
And it's funny, Taylor Jenkins is a dear friend of mine, and I got concerned last summer when they jettisoned half of his coaching staff. It's the bailiwick of the head coach. 99 times out of 100, it's the bailiwick of the head coach to choose his coaches. I mean, these are the guys he's in the trenches with. He must have complete support and trust. And when you take that away from a head coach, well, the writing's on the wall. The general manager in Memphis, brought in his successor, basically. And so that one, only the timing caught me by surprise. And I think the same holds true in Denver. I think everybody was shocked, with 3 games to go that you make a change like that. David comes from coaching royalty. He knows what he's doing. He's going to be an excellent head coach one day. But to put him in this situation, and now to have to go up against the Clippers in the first round with, Ty Lue and Jeff Van Gundy coaching against you, really puts him in a very difficult spot. So only the timing really got me, Justin. The fact that they decide to make a change does not. The one thing fans have to understand is that there's so much that goes on behind the scenes that we're not privy to, and then it comes out in a firing, and you say, well, how could this possibly happen? Well, you just don't know, what's going on behind the scenes. I would say even the most ardent Denver Nugget fan had no idea that Michael Malone and Calvin Booth don't get along, because you're less than 24 months removed from a championship. So these are the things that happen in pro sports. It's distasteful. You hate it because they're good people. Calvin's a good person. Michael's a good person. They're different 180 personalities. And obviously it was not working. So only the timing caught me by surprise.
Gotcha. I lied. I actually have one more question. On behalf of my co-host and myself, we wanted to recently congratulate you on your induction. I think the ceremony was this year, right? In February, I believe.
Yes.
The Georgia Sports Hall of Fame. So congratulations.
February.
Yeah,
Thank you.
that's awesome. I just want we want to ask, you have any favorite moments from your time? That might be an unfair question, but kind of any favorite moments of your broadcasting career that kind of stand out?
Here in Georgia?
Yeah, here in Georgia, or anything else in your career?
Yeah, well, oh gosh, I've been so blessed to call so many magical moments, and I often get the question, what was the moment that you remember the most? And there were so many, it'd be hard to pick one. And the other thing is that there are moments that meant a lot to me that might not mean anything to anybody else. But I go back to the 60-win season that the Hawks had. We won 19 in a row. We were the only team in NBA history before or since to go unbeaten in the month of January. And, 19 in a row is a pretty healthy winning streak. And that's almost a quarter of your schedule. And the thing that I loved the most about it, I mean, there were great games and all that. But what I loved the most was how energized the city of Atlanta became around that basketball team. People that don't follow the Hawks couldn't name a player, but they were swept up in the emotion of it all. And that to me was so exciting to see. And I think anytime a team catches fire like that in a city, if the Broncos make a Super Bowl run or, the Avalanche are going to the Stanley Cup Finals, it's that kind of a feeling. And that's what we had here in Atlanta. We had it with the Braves, when they went worst to first in 91 and the Falcons going to the Super Bowls a couple of times. So we've had it. But to sustain it for a month like that for the Hawks was really special. When you go to drop off your dry cleaning and the little old lady behind the counter says, "Aren't our Hawks doing well?" And the whole city swept up in it. And that really made it special.
Awesome, Bob. Thank you very much. Much appreciated.
Oh,
Let
you're
our
welcome.
fans and listeners know where they can find you on social media, any upcoming projects you have going on, and then where they can find, listen to, and watch the Hawks as well.
Yeah, well, thank you. Yes, on Twitter, X, and Instagram the same, Bob Rathbun TV. And you can find me. I love interacting with the fans. And there is a speaking project. If you go to my website, bobrathbun.com, we have a figuresofspeech.com website where me and my partner, Des Thornton, can help speakers of all kinds be better at their craft, whether it's broadcasting or executives, players, coaches, administrators, whether you are holding a meeting in a conference room with 5 people. We are here to help. So if you're interested, please check that out.
Awesome, Bob. Much appreciated. Thank you very much.
You got it, man.
Hello
Let's
to
do
the
this again
Hawks.
soon. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
We got to get in the playoffs.
Right. Thanks, Bob. Appreciate
You're
it.
welcome. Anytime.